Tires, start your engine!
Tuning up your work week. It's MRN Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse and brought to you by Hercules Tires and Grunt Style Apparel. Warning, please keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times and do not feed the host. Here's Woody Kane and Joey Meyer.
Some things change, some things stay the same. A half a dozen wins for Kyle Busch, a half a dozen wins for Kevin Harvick, 4 more for Martin Truex Jr., and the big three have now won 16 of the first 21 races. I'm Woody Kane alongside Joey Meyer as we review what happened at Pocono and get set for Watkins Glen coming up this weekend. Joey, they just keep clicking them off.
Good Monday morning to everybody. Woody, how you doing? Joey is extremely happy.
He's going to get another bloomin' onion.
Almost found his way to victory lane. Clearly had the fastest car, if not one of the fastest. I think the fastest car. Got into a little skirmish with his teammate.
Kyle Busch said it after the race. He said he thought the 4 was the fastest car.
To watch him drive through the field after serving the penalty of starting near the rear of the field for his post-qualifying issues, to watch how fast it was. We were in the top 3, top 4 during the event. After a series of green flag pit stops, the 4 cars right behind us, and I physically thought I heard Brad feel deflated at that moment because we were running really good lap times, and there's the 4 car. He just drove by 25 cars to get to us, and you're like, there he is in the back mirror already. And Brad essentially at that point in time, earlier in the race, you pull over, let him go, because all you're going to do is hold each other up and watch Kevin Harvick drive to the front. Is an amazing display of performance, and it's intriguing from a race team knowing that these cars are all supposed to be the same. But you have one team and one team in that company dominating the speed like they do. You have Kyle Busch over at Joe Gibbs Racing. Where were the other Gibbs cars? They had a pretty decent day.
Yeah, they
Eric
did.
Jones and Daniel Suarez. Where was Denny Hamlin? You have Kevin Harvick.
10th.
You have Kevin Harvick. Where are the other drivers? You know, they're there, but they're not showing that dominating kind of speed. And Truex kind of had a ho-hum day, and he was still in the top 10 most of the afternoon. So that shows you how good these guys are when all 3 of them cannot have their best days and they're still finishing 5th, 6th, or 7th.
They absolutely are. Kyle Busch, as we said, sweeps the weekend at Pocono. He wins the truck race to get a tie with Hornaday, the NASCAR Hall of Famer, for the most all-time wins in the truck series. He also won the Cup race on Sunday. Here's what he had to say.
I mean, I was just that is so far on tires to then have to sit there and restart on, you know. So I was just nervous for that fact that we were all going to race down into turn 1 and not really know what grip level we all had, and just bombs going off everywhere and figuring out where we were all going to land at the end of it. So, you know, fortunately they're very, very talented young drivers with the 20 and the 19, Eric and Daniel both, and humbly I kind of feel bad. I was the guy that was in front of Daniel when he finished second. He could have won, you know. I mean, he was right there with us all day long. He trailed us that whole run, and I couldn't shake him. I couldn't get away from him, you know, and I was trying. But he was right there that whole time, and he stayed in front of Chase. Like, he was good. So, selfishly, though, I'll admit that I'm glad that we scored the victory, and it's for the 18 team. And you know, we can continue to work on our championship drive and what we want to do and making it through the playoffs with bonus points and such. But you know, with Daniel and those guys, they had an awesome run, and they should be proud of that.
Kevin Harvick said it last week, and now you hear Kyle Busch reiterating it, how important it is to these guys to pile up these playoff points. They want to have that cushion when they get there so that they can afford to have a bad day and still play that chip and move on through the rounds. Kyle Busch now has 35 playoff points. Harvick has 33. Martin Truex Jr. has 26. Next closest is Clint Bowyer with only 10.
Yeah, and again, we talked about it last week, and if you haven't listened to us in a while, go download the podcast, MRN.com, because you'll hear me say it, and Woody agrees with me, which is a rare oddity.
Yeah.
But what you have this year, a year ago at this time, Martin Truex had locked his way into Homestead.
Pretty much, barring something really crazy.
He had so many playoff points ahead of the second place guy. He was a virtual lock to get to Homestead. With 3 drivers now, and you end up trying to get 4 drivers moving on each round, you're going to have, I'm going to say it right now, those 3 drivers, there's still a good chance one of them doesn't make Homestead. Because if you have 3 races in each round and you have 2 different race winners that aren't these 3, one of those guys is going home eventually, and they will not make their way to Homestead. So not only are they racing for playoff wins, which are very important, but they're racing each other now. So it's almost like a race within a race. Those 3 drivers are trying to catapult themselves to the top of that list to have the most playoff points, so it guarantees their way to Homestead.
And if you win the regular season, you get 15 more points on top of that. So it's big in that respect as well. By the way, that Kyle Busch car that won, you can pick that up at Plan B Sales, one of our fine sponsors here on the program. You can get that die cast from the win at Pocono, as well as all the race winning and other die casts are available at planbsales.com. 6th time this year the 18 car has gone to victory lane. Is that necessarily a bad thing that 3 guys are scooping up all the wins, or is it better when it's spread out more through the field, you think?
You know, I think we're going to talk a little bit more about this in on-off track,
All right.
but I like your train of thought.
All right, there you go. That's exactly what we're talking about here. Got a big show coming up for you on MRN Motorsports Monday. We'll also review the truck race. We'll talk about the Xfinity Series race at Iowa. Christopher Bell is absolutely on fire. 3 in a row for him right now. And we'll talk a little bit more about that horrific crash from Bubba Wallace. Glad to see that he's okay. We'll talk a little bit more about that and look ahead to Watkins Glen. And by the way, if you haven't seen what they're going to be doing at Talladega after their playoff race in October, we've got some of that for you as well. It is fantastic. Stick around. A big show on Motorsports Monday.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse. Blooming great.
Chris Crockett here with another member of our Toyota racing family. Reggie, you've taken tailgating to new places. You've converted this school bus into a giant brisket smoker?
It's table stakes, Chris. Oh, you see that? That's my lookout tower, so I can see Kyle Busch taking the lead.
Wow, what's the cage for?
That's for the tailgaters.
Oh yeah, that's a real alligator. NASCAR and Toyota Racing. With a family like this, who knows the places we'll go as things heat up this summer. Learn more at toyotaracing.com. Toyota, let's go places. NASCAR is a registered trademark of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, Inc.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there. Whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice, Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, right on our strength.
That M&M Caramel Toyota off of turn number 2 and up the short chute for the final time. Has 15 car lengths in hand over his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate and Daniel Suarez. It is all Kyle Busch off turn 3 for the final time in Pocono.
3 weeks ago, he won at Chicagoland Speedway. He comes to Pocono, will win again, and will join Kevin Harvick as a 6-time winner this year. Kyle Busch scores the win at Pocono Raceway, his 49th career victory.
Pretty big number for Kyle Busch, 49 career victories in the Cup Series. And I won't say he made it look easy, because if Kevin Harvick hadn't had his trouble, we were going to have another fantastic finish, I think. But how about some of the young faces who showed up in the top 10? Daniel Suarez, 2nd. Alex Bowman, 3rd. Eric Jones, 5th. William Byron, 6th. You had some names that we're not used to seeing up there in the front starting to assert themselves a little bit now.
Yeah, including Chase Elliott, rounded out 7th. Those are a very strong field, led a lot of the race early on.
Won the first stage.
Yeah, and when he got out front, he yarded the field. I mean, he was really, really fast, running lap times well over a second, half a second quicker than the guys behind him. Really looked strong early on. And then Richard Childress Racing with Ryan Newman. Again, a solid effort there at Pocono.
Just kind of quietly doing it.
Right, it's like, where'd this guy come from? And then he was there. A couple of tire issues. Kurt Busch was able to rebound from that tire issue he had early on. We cut a tire down in the tunnel and ended our night, unfortunately. But again, our Penske cars were just a little off. A good day, we were going to run
the 22 had some nose damage from very early on.
Very early on, started that part of his penalty from post-qualifying issues was him starting in the back. Got behind a slower car, ran to the back of him, really poked a hole in the nose. So they kind of stumbled right from the get-go on trying to find speed.
And spent the day trying to recover from that.
Exactly right. Yeah. And then they got back really running okay, and then had a tire go down on them with some contact, I believe, with the 42 of Kyle Larson. So it was really a tough day for Team Penske overall, performance-wise. But again, you can't run good every week, and it's good to see the teams do rise to the elevation, like Richard Childress with Ryan Newman, and being able to have Kurt Busch come back from that tire issue shows the strength. Kevin Harvick, left rear quarter panel damage, finishes top 5. Really, really strong core group over those guys.
And speaking of that, that 4th place run by Kevin Harvick means it's Bloomin' Monday. You can go by Outback Steakhouse and get a free bloomin' onion today because Kevin Harvick keeps piling up the solid finishes. They got some great steak and shrimp specials going on right now as well you want to check out. Tell your friends at Outback Steakhouse you heard about it right here on MRN Motorsports Monday. Let's talk a little on-track, off-track, some things that are going well in the sport and some things that aren't going quite so well. Let's start with the positives. What's going well in your mind right now?
You know, for a while, we're a part of a generation that has great driver performances. Back in the 96 era, Gordon won 10 races, 13 races in 1 year. That's unprecedented. We haven't seen that.
You don't see that much
Haven't
anymore.
seen that in a long time. If we go further back than that, we had the Petty, Pearson, Yarborough era with a big 3 of those guys taking over everybody. If they didn't win a race, who did? Because we can't name them off the top of your head because those guys dominated. Then we move forward. We had Jimmy Johnson. He's won 7 championships. He won everything.
600th start yesterday.
600 start. Won 5 championships in a row. That's never going to happen in my lifetime.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Now what we're seeing again is a resurgence of the big 3. And instead of complaining about it, we're going to look back 5-10 years from now and realize that we were seeing an era of amazing domination, not by one company. It's 3 distinct teams. Yes, there's 2 Toyotas with Kyle Busch and Martin Truex, but one's in Denver, one's in Concord, North Carolina. They're a couple of miles apart. We have the strength of Stewart-Haas Racing, located right over here at Kannapolis Parkway in Concord, North Carolina. You're seeing domination by 3 teams that we haven't seen in a number of years. Yeah, we've seen one driver dominate with Gordon and Earnhardt and Jimmy Johnson. We've seen big 3 in the past. But in today's generation, this is their big 3. Let's enjoy it, man. Let's revel in the fact that these guys are doing something that for 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, we haven't seen. It's okay, because I got news for you. There's a big shop over in Mooresville called Team Penske. We are rubbing our heads trying to find out.
No wonder you don't have any hair. I'm right there with you.
Yes, we are searching and grinding and working our guts out. And that's just one team. You've got the other 3 Gibbs cars that aren't doing what Kyle Busch is doing. You've got the other teams at Stewart-Haas that aren't doing what Kevin Harvick's doing. They're getting close.
The Hendrick bunch, yeah.
The Hendrick bunch, exactly. Everybody's fighting. Let's appreciate the fact that we have 3 teams that are really having a great year.
The Jimmy Johnson thing you mentioned, just as an aside, I was looking at some stats for this weekend, and since he was making his 600th start, one of them that jumped out at me, he's also got over 200 top 5s. That means 1 out of every 3 races the guy's finishing in the top 5 career with over 600 starts. That's just amazing.
Yeah, and again, we don't appreciate him because when he's doing it, we get tired of seeing it.
Yeah.
When we boo him, you hear the fans. Now, as he gets to the twilight of his career, you can hear during driver introductions the simple fact that fans are starting to appreciate him a little more. Why is that? Because he's not winning every week.
Yeah.
So we appreciate our guys after they stop winning. Let's appreciate them when they're winning.
What we've got right now, yeah, absolutely. All right, for me, I think one of the things that jumped out on track-wise is car safety. We got a little clip to show you of that crash that Bubba Wallace had, and it's just amazing that a guy realizes he's going into the turn at 200 miles an hour, goes through the grass to try and scrub off some speed, and bang, and he gets out of the car. He limped a little bit. He was knocked his breath out a little bit. But you saw the safer barrier give there. There's Bubba limping to the ambulance. The concrete behind the safer barrier was cracked. That's how hard he hit, and the guy walked away. I mean, granted, he had the wind knocked out of him. They showed a clip of Jimmy Johnson doing the same thing a few years ago. But my gosh, for a guy to be able to walk away from a crash like that is just unbelievable.
We weren't too far long back in 2001 where we saw a very minor wreck. Coming to the checker flag, Michael Waltrip, Dale Earnhardt Jr. running first and second, and the boss is running third. He gets into the wall, very, very mundane-looking wreck, and it took his life. And we saw 3 big wrecks during that time with the Pettys and the Irwins and Earnhardt that didn't seem very violent at all.
Isn't that the way it always is? The ones that don't seem as bad are the ones that turn out to be the worst injury-wise.
But that wreck yesterday with the head-on, the magnitude of the deflection of direction could have been a catastrophic injury. And everybody held their breath until the safety window net comes down and we all breathe, okay, he's moving. He knows where he's at.
It wasn't, but it seemed like it took forever.
It took about 40 seconds.
Yeah.
It was a long time. So you're correct 100%. The safety cocoon that the teams build themselves under the guidance and specifications of NASCAR's experience gathered from 2001 till now. We have the Hans device. We have this cocoon around the driver. It really exemplified how safe these cars are yesterday. And for him to get out of the infield care center and have a humor
and be able to joke about it.
Yes, not that his bell was completely, he didn't know where he was. He was really a very normal Bubba Wallace, and that was great to see.
It was certainly something else. So kudos to NASCAR for the safety of the cars. All right, let's talk a little off track right now. What's crawling all over you today?
You know, we had an issue post-qualifying where 13 cars failed going through the inspection stations, all right? And what you had was the penalty was being put to the rear at the start of the race. Well, because Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch were so fast, Kevin Harvick was able to drive to the top 10 by lap 10. And there was such as enamored clawing of screaming from the rooftops. Well, that penalty wasn't big enough. That's the craziest thing in the world.
How much further back can you go? You want to start them in the parking lot?
We can't penalize drivers based on their ability to overcome the penalty. If a team gets a 15-yard pass interference penalty, but then stops the offense from scoring, well, did that mean the penalty wasn't big enough? If a team gets a speeding penalty and it can overcome the speeding penalty to come back and win the race, which we've seen numerous times, does that mean the penalty wasn't big enough? The penalty fits the crime. You did not pass post-qualifying. You start in the rear of the field. If you keep failing, they ramped it up to losing crew members, ramping up to losing points, and I'm sure we're going to see a loss of practice time.
Because you have to go back through again once you fail.
Exactly right. Let's stop realizing that we can't penalize teams based on their performance. There were some teams that started in the back that never overcame the penalty. The Casey Canes of the world, the Joey Logano's of the world. That was a huge penalty, starting in the back and hitting your nose. That penalty fit the crime. It fits the crime for the point. We had a problem post-qualifying because the cars were on the track. They didn't fit exactly the way they were supposed to. Teams were able to modify the body and get it back in tech, but the penalty fit the crime. Not because Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick are so much faster that we should, they have their own penalties. We need to make them start a half a lap back. Let's be realistic about the penalties.
My off track is a similar thing, the inspections. And for a while, this had kind of died down, gone away, was not much of a story. Not as many guys were failing, particularly at the beginning of a weekend. But we had 13 guys after qualifying who failed tech 1, 2, or 3 times and had to go all the way to the back of the field and start. It's just, and even NASCAR admitted it, it's just a bad look for fans. On the one hand, I saw somebody talking about if you get penalized after a race, well, you still get to keep the win. You might lose some points, but you're taking that trophy home. On qualifying, they move them to the back. It's just a bad look, and I wish there was some way that they could fix this to get it so it's not so bad. 13 is a lot. When they're there in the dark trying to get everybody through tech, that's not a good look.
Quick scenario. We used to build race cars to run 4, 5, or 6 races before we rebuilt them. Every car, primarily for your middle and upper teams, are used one race before the entire body is stripped off because the body is extremely light, it's extremely flexible, and it moves. When you put a car on a racetrack that goes 200 miles an hour, you have air forces that are bending these bodies because they're so light now. That's why we have to rebuild them. Post-race tech has larger tolerances because the car has seen track activity. What we saw on Saturday was post-qualifying tolerances that were pre-qualifying tolerances. They were the same.
So they measure the cars differently at the beginning of a weekend, after qualifying, and after the race. They use different numbers to measure?
There's 2 different tolerances, pre-qualifying and post-race.
You're saying you get a bigger margin?
Yes, okay. Absolutely. So what you had is post-qualifying was using pre-qualifying tolerances, and because the cars hit the track, the cars moved a little bit more, and the teams weren't really adjusted to it. This is only our second time using this qualifying procedure, and the first time we were on a very high-speed track. I think the teams will take back and come back a little bit, and we'll see we're going to see the same procedure at Watkins Glen. But
let's see,
But the next time we see a higher speed track, I believe the teams will reel in a little bit. It's inspection. It's not about a race win, and don't confuse the two because that's a different argument. But it is about qualifying for the race. And the penalty was to start in the rear and lose some points and some crew members, depending on how many. I would like to see a modification, though. This is one of the things I will agree that something needs to be done. Kevin Harvick went through 4 times. Joey Logano went through 3. Kevin Harvick started in front of Joey Logano. The penalty,
because owners' points is then how they line them up.
They went by points, and Kevin Harvick has more points. he started in front of guys that he actually went through more times by failing.
I get you. Yeah.
I would like to see that modified and get rid of the points. You start.
The more times you fail, the further back you go.
The further back you go,
Yeah.
yes, 100%.
All right, absolutely. That's our on-track, off-track segment. We've got a lot more coming on MRN Motorsports Monday. We got some truck racing, some Xfinity racing to talk about, and we're going to look ahead at Watkins Glen. Stick around.
Grunt style. The American fighting spirit is in everything we make. We are 500 patriots and veterans strong, bringing clothing manufacturing back to the United States of America. Always moving forward, never retreating, never giving up. We are Grunt Style, and this we'll defend. Get yours at gruntstyle.com or on the track this week at Watkins Glen International.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse. Blooming great.
Kyle Petty here. My friends at Click & Close, the official mortgage provider of NASCAR, have stepped up this year to support Victory Junction through the fastest lap of the race program on NASCAR radio. So join our team. Go to clickandclose.com/NASCAR today to donate $43 or more and help us give the gift of camp to children with serious medical conditions. That's clickandclose.com/NASCAR, and just look for the Victory Junction logo. Thanks to Click & Close and NASCAR Radio for their support this season.
White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go in the U.S. Cellular 250. And once again, Allgaier versus Bell at Iowa.
Bell tried to bomb it down into turn 1. He clears him. Allgaier backs up into the front bumper of Brandon Jones. Bell escapes down the back straightaway. He leads by 2 car lengths over Allgaier. Daniel Hemrick inside of Brandon Jones for third. But it's Christopher Bell off 4 as they crash in turn 4.
Brandon Jones in a slide and into the wall, but the checkered flag comes out. Christopher Bell wins.
That's how it sounded on the Motor Racing Network on Saturday at Iowa Speedway. Christopher Bell wins his 3rd straight race. And as we open the show with, some things change, some things don't. Last time at Iowa, it was Bell and Allgaier right down to the furious finish, but Allgaier won.
You know, it's amazing to think that Jason Ratcliffe and Christopher Bell are just getting started. Jason Ratcliffe, a longtime Monster Energy Cup crew chief, who transitioned over to the Xfinity Series for Joe Gibbs Racing. Christopher Bell in his first full year. We saw him run a handful of races back in 2017, but they're just clicking. But the one thing that stands out when you look at the top finishers and the points, he has a big R next to his name, man.
Yes, he does.
It's his first full year in this car, and he's doing that well. They've got such an amazing group of young drivers over there at Gibbs Racing. It makes you concerned as a veteran team with Joey Logano, who's not old, but he's in late 20s. These young kids are doing such a great job. But Justin Allgaier almost had that win, had an amazing restart where he jammed himself between Christopher Bell and the wall of the car, the wall of the racetrack, to get the lead on the previous restart. And then the last restart, Bell was able to take the lead back from him. So kudos to those guys. But Christopher Bell's leading. Elliott Sadler, Cole Custer, Daniel Hemrick, and Justin Allgaier, your top 5. Pretty strong from Junior Motorsports again, with Cole Custer in that little mix as well.
To give you an idea of how close it is, Hemrick was leading the standings when they went to Iowa. He comes out 4th after his race there. You saw the contact that he had there with Brandon Jones at the end. He apologized for that one. But let's hear what Christopher Bell had to say after his 3rd straight victory in the Xfinity Series.
I know you love excitement, and I love excitement particularly behind the wheel of a race car. You guys definitely had that in that final restart. Can you take us through it?
Well, it was definitely hair-raising, that's for sure. Man, I was just praying for no yellow, but whenever we went green for that long, I think it was over 100 laps, I was like, there's no way. I saw 2 or 3 guys get into the wall in front of me, and I'm like, man, there's no way we're going to make it to the end of this race. But I didn't expect the yellow to come literally at my front bumper, and that was that caught my attention a little bit. And from that point on, I knew it was going to be a matter of executing on restarts, and this thing was good enough that I was able to come back on that restart.
A couple of weeks away from the playoffs here. You've won 3 in a row. Talk about the momentum this team has heading towards that playoff.
Well, it's great, but this racing deal, this racing gig is extremely difficult, and it's never easy. You can win today, and that doesn't guarantee you anything for next week. So we've won a lot of races now. We just got to keep winning more.
pretty sure that Christopher Bell kid's going to be okay if he sticks with this.
Yeah,
this racing
yeah,
kid.
no, he's showing
That's
some
a wheel
promise.
man right
yeah,
there.
He's showing some promise. He has raced for Gibbs over there for now. Again, he's in his first full year, but he started some handful of races. Who did really well last year as well. They're in good hands. Again, he's got the veteran leadership of Jason Ratcliffe providing him really good cars, not making any mistakes. And that's what you see from the rookies. You expect them to make some mistakes. And we can go down the list. Tyler Reddick has made some mistakes. Austin Cindric are two other rookies that are in the top 10 that will claim out loud that they've made a couple of mistakes based on rookies. What you don't see from Christopher Bell are those rookie mistakes.
Quickly, let's segue to the Truck Series back at Pocono. Kyle Busch gets the victory there. From the point standpoint, it doesn't mean that much in terms of the championship battle, but for Kyle Busch, he ties NASCAR Hall of Famer Ron Hornaday with 51 wins, the most all-time in that series.
The one stat that stood out to me when we talk about the number of races it took Kyle Busch or the number of wins or things of that nature, the one stat that really stood out is Kyle Busch is 33 years old. Ron Hornaday didn't get in a truck till he was 36.
Yeah.
And that's the difference that we saw in the mid to late 90s and even early 2000s. It was unheard of for a big name team to give a 18, 19, 20-year-old kid the steering wheel of their car and go represent us on the track. You were looking for those seasoned veterans, and that's what Dale Earnhardt saw in Ron Hornaday after all the years in a Southwest Tour car. So 36 years old the first time he got in the car. Kyle Busch is 33 at his 51st win. Very, very different generational gap there.
Eric Jones finishes second, filling in for Noah Gragson, who had a stomach virus issue.
Yeah, he fell out, almost passed out before qualifying. They scrambled. Eric Jones, obviously a KBM, past KBM driver.
An alum.
Yeah, exactly. They were talking about getting William Byron actually a little bit. There was some word about that because he actually was going to fit the seat better based on size and an alum. But Eric Jones did a really good job, actually fought really hard, had the lead momentarily down the short chute, and Kyle Busch was able to drive around the outside of the tunnel turn to take it back. And amazing. Kyle's pretty good.
He's pretty good. Johnny Sauter leads the championship standings right now by 65 over Noah Gragson after he didn't race. Grant Enfinger 83 back, Stuart Friesen 92 back, and then Brett Moffitt, even though he's got 3 wins, he's in 5th overall, 102 points out of the lead.
Interesting to point out that Noah Gragson got the waiver already. NASCAR has already said, hey, we understand that you tried to race this race, you felt ill.
And wouldn't get clearance.
So he missed a race, but he's already gotten the waiver for the playoffs.
And we've seen it in the past when guys get injured in wrecks and whatnot. This time it applies to illness. All right, another time out here on Motorsports Monday. When we come back, you got to see what they're going to do at Talladega Superspeedway after their playoff race in October, and we'll look ahead at Watkins Glen.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So cold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse, blooming great.
Chris Crockett here with another member of our Toyota racing family. Reggie, you've taken tailgating to new places. You've converted this school bus into a giant brisket smoker?
It's table stakes, Chris. Oh, you see that? That's my lookout tower, so I can see Kyle Busch taking the lead.
Wow, what's the cage for?
That's for the tailgaters.
Oh yeah, that's a real alligator. NASCAR and Toyota Racing. With a family like this, who knows the places we'll go as things heat up this summer. Learn more at toyotaracing.com. Toyota, let's go places. NASCAR is a registered trademark of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, Inc.
Are you a serious diecast collector? Do you have a favorite driver? Are you looking for a gift for a race fan? No matter what the question, the answer is always PlanBSales.com. Plan B has all the latest in diecast from Lionel and apparel, artwork, and other items for your favorite driver in NASCAR or other forms of racing. Go to PlanBSales.com, key your driver's name in the handy search window, and look at all the options. Your one stop for diecast and other motorsports collectibles is PlanBSales.com.
I'm Kevin Harvick, and it's another Bloomin' Monday. Ask for your free Bloomin' Onion tonight at Outback Steakhouse. Now it's back to Woody Kane and Joey Meyer.
Bloomin' Monday, head over to Outback Steakhouse, get that free Bloomin' Onion after another top 10 finish for Kevin Harvick. But let's shift gears to Talladega now, because this past week they announced a lot of work going on. The transformation project there they're going to do, it's going to be spectacular after their race coming up. They're a playoff race coming up in October. It's the 50th anniversary of Talladega coming up next year. They're hoping to have all this completed by October of 19. Let's take a look.
Well, to be here 50 years later, or coming up on 50 years, to see the 50th anniversary of Talladega next year is unbelievable. I was here in the very first race and raced in it. And to see what they're doing here at Talladega, this is another move of the modernization of our sport, which I think is key. All the things you look at here, this is for our race fans, to get them closer to our sport.
I'm a huge sports fan, so I've been to a lot of different stadiums for sports in general, football, basketball, baseball. And anytime we can upgrade our facilities at a NASCAR track to make these fans feel at home and give them an area that they feel comfortable and having a great time in, this is going to be an awesome, awesome, awesome experience for all the fans that come to Talladega. You're going to be right there in the garage with us, watching us make our cars faster throughout the weekend during practice. You're going to have a great viewing area. These fans are our core race fans. They show up in groves, ready to have a good time, to watch some good racing. It's awesome when we can put back into our sport and give them something to be proud of when they come to the track, and they're really going to be proud of the facilities here at Talladega. It's a place where my grandfather loves to come. So with his history here and RCR's history here, this is kind of the birthplace of RCR, and the legacy started here. So I'm proud of this place. I definitely want to go to get some more win titles for RCR, and it's awesome to come here and visit and have a good time.
Yeah, we started here in Talladega in 1969. I ran both races. Bill France Jr. paid us some good money to do it, and I left with that money, and I thought, man, more money than I've ever seen at once. I'll never have to work again. 50 years later, I'm still working. I was wrong.
Boy, how things change, but that is going to be so cool at Talladega. It's the concept sort of like the what they have at Las Vegas, where fans are in the inside area of the garage and they can walk up and watch. But this one you can walk in even closer. There's fencing there. It's covered so that you'll be a little more comfortable from the sun, but open air as well. That's going to be fantastic.
It's very easy to look at the young drivers of the sport. We're in good hands as the generation of drivers, the Tony Stewarts, Jeff Gordons, and Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s retire. We have young drivers filling them in. We do have some sponsors leaving. We talked last week, some very big name sponsors leaving, but we also have big sponsors coming back into the sport. Craftsman, Gander Mountain is now the Truck Series sponsor for next year. As much as people want to talk about the demise of NASCAR, oh my gosh, they're selling it, oh my God, it's going out, oh, my TV ratings are terrible. ISC and NASCAR and SMI are really feeling confident about their sport and the future of their sport by pumping millions of.
This is a $50 million project
just for this one speedway. We just did Richmond. We're in the process of doing Phoenix. We just got done doing Daytona. Vegas is relatively new. We've seen improvements at Kentucky over the years. We're in okay shape. We're moving in the right direction and bringing Talladega. It's going to go in a 50-year transformation because we haven't done anything there in 50 years.
And infrastructure lasts. This type of thing lasts.
It's going to be a 50-year transition. When you go back to Talladega, it's going to look like 2019, which it will be. So it's a fantastic deal there at Talladega. Grant, the president there, has done an amazing job.
It's going to be cool to see, and we've got a lot of those pictures you can check out for yourself right now at MRN.com. All right, let's shift gears again, heading to Watkins Glen this weekend. It's road course season for the Xfinity guys. The Cup guys will be at Watkins Glen as well. Much, much faster track than we saw at Sonoma earlier this year.
Not only that, but the Xfinity Series is going to have the likes of Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, A.J. Allmendinger trying to get some.
He's going to be
time.
in the 23
Absolutely.
at GMS.
So you're going to have a very strong field of Xfinity drivers, but some of the Cup teams are looking to rebound. The 47 looking to rebound from Sonoma. Brad Keselowski can't wait to get back to Watkins Glen. Get away from the high-speed aero advantages that we've seen from the couple of big three guys where he feels like he can put this car on his back and carry. Joey Logano is going to have a good performance. We're going to see a lot of good racing at one of my favorite road course tracks because you have braking, passing, you have on-throttle passing, you have steering passing, you have all these available options of where you can pass, whether it's the Xfinity Series or the Cup Series. Fast, intricate, braking smooth. Everything matters. You're going to see a lot at Watkins Glen.
We've seen some craziness at Watkins Glen over the past few years. Some horrific incidents, some great racing, guys battling down to the stripe, some unlikely winners. We don't see road course ringers anymore. All these guys know they have to be good at all the types of tracks now.
Yeah, and again, you get a win and you're going to be in the playoffs, and that's what it matters. That win really is important, and that's one of the tracks.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. We'll have it all for you right here on the Motor Racing Network. Saturday for the Xfinity Series, Sunday for the Cup side. You can catch it right at MRN.com. Check all the schedules there as well as through the week. And don't forget NASCAR Live coming up Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time with Mike Bagley. I'm Woody Kane. He's Joey Meyer. We will be right back here next week. Hopefully we'll get you another free Bloomin' Onion with little Joey. But check them out this week. Go by and see their new shrimp and steak specials. It's all ahead. Stick with us. We'll see you next week, guys.